Ladies and gentlemen, today is not just another day. It is a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance to turn the page, to rise above the past, and to step into the future with hope. Too often, we allow the weight of yesterday to determine the steps of today. We let mistakes, regrets, and failures hold us back. But let me tell you something. Your past does not define you. Your failures do not chain you, because every sunrise brings a promise. The promise of renewal, the promise of grace, and the promise that you can begin again. There is power in a new beginning. The power to let go of bitterness, the power to forgive, the power to take that first step toward the life you were meant to live. No matter how lost you may feel, no matter how broken your journey has been, a new beginning is possible. But hear me now, this journey requires courage. It requires faith. It means stepping out even when you can't see the whole path ahead. It means believing that something greater is waiting for you, that you were created for more than just surviving. You were made to thrive. Some of you here today may be standing at the edge of a decision. You may be facing a moment where you must choose. Do I stay bound by the past, or do I step into the future? Let me urge you with all my heart, take the step, walk forward, embrace the new beginning that is before you, because today is not the end. No, my friend, today is the beginning, and the best is yet to come. Change is one of life's greatest certainties, yet it is also one of the most difficult things to embrace, because it often brings uncertainty, challenges, and a call to step outside of our comfort zones. But if we approach change with faith and courage, we will find that it is not something to be feared, but rather something to be embraced, something that can lead us into a future filled with purpose, hope, and transformation. For every great story ever written required a turning point, a moment when the main character had to make a decision, take a risk, and step into the unknown. And in the same way, our lives are filled with moments when we must decide whether to resist change or to embrace it with faith in our hearts and courage in our steps, trusting that even when we cannot see the whole path ahead, we are being led towards something greater than we could have imagined. Faith is the foundation upon which true courage is built, for when we place our trust in something greater than ourselves, we are no longer bound by fear, and we no longer need to rely solely on our own strength, because faith reminds us that we are not alone, that every step we take is guided, and that even in the midst of uncertainty, there is a purpose unfolding, a plan that is far greater than anything we could construct on our own. And when we truly embrace this truth, we find that courage rises within us, not the kind of courage that comes from reckless boldness, but the kind that comes from a deep and unshakable belief that we are walking in the right direction, even when we do not know what lies ahead. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. And when we embrace change, we often find ourselves standing at the crossroads of fear and faith, wondering if we have what it takes to step into the unknown. But the truth is, we do not need to have it all figured out. We do not need to have all the answers before we begin, because courage is not about knowing every detail of what is to come, but rather about taking the first step, about trusting that with each step forward, the path will become clearer, the way will be made known, and what once seemed impossible will become a testimony of what happens when faith and courage work together to propel us toward our destiny. There are times when change is not something we choose, but something that is thrust upon us. When life shifts in ways we never expected, when doors close that we thought would always remain open. And in those moments, it can be easy to fall into fear, to question why things had to happen the way they did. But even in those times, we must remember that every ending is the beginning of something new, that what feels like loss today can be the doorway to something greater tomorrow, and that the challenges we face are not meant to break us, but to shape us, to strengthen us, to prepare us for the next season of our lives, because sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as disruptions. And what seems like a setback may actually be a setup for something far beyond what we could have imagined. We cannot allow fear of the unknown to keep us from stepping into the life that is waiting for us, because fear will always try to convince us to stay where it is comfortable, where it is safe, where we do not have to risk failure. But if we let fear dictate our steps, we will never grow. We will never step into the fullness of what we were created for, and we will never experience the beauty of discovering what lies beyond the borders of our comfort zones. Because growth requires movement. It requires change. It requires us to embrace the unknown with the belief that we are not walking this journey alone, that we are being led, that we are being strengthened, and that we are being equipped for everything that lies ahead. Every great breakthrough in history was born out of a willingness to embrace change with faith and courage. From the pioneers who ventured into new lands without knowing what they would find, to the innovators who refused to accept limitations and instead pushed forward into uncharted territory, to the individuals who faced personal trials and yet chose to rise above them. And the same is true for each of us, because our lives are filled with moments where we are called to take a step forward, to trust that the change we face is not meant to destroy us, but to refine us, to stretch us, to mold us into who we were meant to be. And when we choose to embrace change with faith and courage, we open the door to new opportunities, new beginnings, and a life that is defined not by fear, but by the boldness to walk into the unknown with confidence. We must remember that embracing change does not mean that the journey will always be easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments of struggle, moments when we feel as though we are walking through the fire. But we must also remember that fire refines, it purifies, it strengthens, and every challenge we face is an opportunity to grow stronger, to become wiser, to develop resilience that will carry us forward. Because change is not just about stepping into something new, it is about becoming someone new, someone who is stronger, more courageous, and more deeply rooted in faith. And when we emerge from the process, we will look back and realize that every struggle, every challenge, and every moment of uncertainty was preparing us for the incredible future that was waiting just beyond the horizon. So today I urge you, do not be afraid of change. Do not resist the new season that is unfolding before you. Do not allow fear to hold you back from stepping into the life that is waiting for you, but instead embrace change with faith and courage. Trust that you are being led. Believe that you have been equipped for the journey ahead, and know that the best is yet to come. Because when we choose to walk forward in faith, when we choose to move with courage, we step into a life that is not bound by fear, not controlled by the past, but filled with purpose, with promise, and with the unshakable confidence that no matter what lies ahead, we will face it with strength, with boldness, and with a heart that is ready for all that is to come. Redemption is a powerful force, a gift that offers us the chance to be restored, to rise above our past, to break free from the chains of guilt, regret, and failure, and to step into a new life filled with hope. Because no matter how far we have fallen, no matter how many mistakes we have made, no matter how broken we may feel, redemption reminds us that our story is not over, that there is still purpose in our lives, that we are not defined by our failures, but by the grace that lifts us up. And when we truly embrace this truth, we begin to understand that renewal is not just an idea, but a reality that is available to each and every one of us. There is nothing more beautiful than the moment when a heart that was once weighed down by shame is set free, when a soul that was once lost finds its way back home, when a person who once believed they were beyond saving realizes that redemption is not reserved for the perfect, but for the broken, for the weary, for those who have reached the end of themselves and are ready to step into something greater, because redemption is not about erasing the past, but about transforming it, about taking what was meant for harm and turning it into something good, about using the scars of yesterday as a testimony of the incredible power of renewal. And when we embrace this truth, we begin to walk in freedom, knowing that we are no longer bound by the weight of our past, but are instead stepping into the light of a new beginning. Renewal is not just a second chance. It is a complete transformation, a process of being made new from the inside out, a journey that takes us from darkness into light, from despair into hope, from bondage into freedom. And the beauty of renewal is that it is not something we achieve on our own, but something that is given to us, something that we step into when we surrender our past, when we let go of the things that have held us captive, when we open our hearts to the possibility that there is more to our story than what we have known, and when we begin to walk in that renewal, we find that we are no longer the same, that the things that once held us back no longer have power over us, that the burdens we once carried have been lifted, and that we are finally free to step into the life we were meant to live. There are moments in life when we feel as though we have reached the end, as though there is no way forward, as though we have made too many mistakes, fallen too far, lost too much. But the truth is, no one is beyond redemption. No one is beyond renewal. No one is too broken to be made whole again, because the power of redemption is greater than any failure, stronger than any mistake, deeper than any regret. And when we understand this, we begin to see that our past does not have to dictate our future, that our wounds do not have to define us, that our failures do not have to be the end of our story, but instead they can be the very things that lead us into a future filled with purpose, hope, and restoration. We must understand that redemption is not just about being forgiven. It is about being transformed. It is about becoming someone new, someone who is no longer held captive by the things that once enslaved them, someone who has been set free to live with boldness, with joy, with a renewed sense of purpose. And when we truly walk in that transformation, we begin to see the world differently, we begin to love differently, we begin to live differently, we begin to live differently because we know what it feels like to be given a second chance. We know what it means to be restored. We know the power of grace, and we want to share that with others, because when we have experienced the beauty of redemption, we cannot help but become a light to those who are still searching for hope. Sometimes the greatest obstacles to renewal are not the things we have done, but the lies we have believed, the voices that tell us we are not worthy, that we cannot be restored, that we will always be defined by our past. But those are the voices of fear, of shame, of doubt, and they have no power over us unless we choose to believe them. Because the truth is, we were never meant to live in bondage. We were never meant to be held back by guilt and regret. We were meant to walk in freedom, in wholeness, in joy. And when we reject the lies that try to keep us in the shadows and step into the truth that we are redeemed, that we are renewed, that we have been given a fresh start, we find that our entire perspective shifts, that we no longer see ourselves through the lens of our failures, but through the lens of grace, and that changes everything. The power of redemption and renewal is not just something we receive, it is something we carry, something we share, something that has the ability to transform not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us, because when we have experienced redemption, we become walking testimonies of what is possible. We become living proof that no one is too far gone, that no situation is too hopeless, that no past is too broken to be restored. And when we begin to live with that truth in our hearts, we find that we are not only renewed for our own sake, but so that we can bring that same hope to others, so that we can extend grace to those who feel unworthy, so that we can speak life into those who feel lost, so that we can be a beacon of light to those who are still searching for their way back home. So today I urge you, do not believe the lie that you are beyond redemption. Do not let the weight of your past keep you from stepping into the future that is waiting for you. Do not allow fear to hold you back from the renewal that is yours to receive, but instead embrace the truth that you are not defined by your failures, that you are not bound by your mistakes, that you are not beyond restoration, because the power of redemption and renewal is greater than anything you have faced, stronger than anything that has tried to hold you back. And when you step into that truth, when you walk in that freedom, when you embrace the new life that has been given to you, you will find that your story is far from over, that your best days are still ahead, and that no matter what has happened in the past, the future is filled with hope, with purpose, and with the unshakable promise that you have been made new